Hey y'all, what's up? This is kind of the first formal devlog for Malparse, which is my cybersecurity startup. If you don't know what Malparse is, or you didn't watch the first devlog, I will link to it up here, down there, wherever. I go way more in depth about what Malparse is and what it's going to be, but I'll give you kind of a quick elevator pitch idea of what it is. Malparse is a cybersecurity SaaS startup that I'm building that will parse out unique identifying information about malware samples and allow the analysts to quickly and efficiently parse out useful information from samples and analyze malware at scale. Anything from automated config extraction to correlating multiple samples in a cluster based upon unique strings and control flow, Malparse will allow an analyst to scale up their malware research at a much faster pace than a lot of other malware-centric data platforms. You can sign up for the development newsletter at malparse.com. Okay, so like I said, this is going to be a little bit, not formal, but a little bit more organized than the last devlog. So this week has been spent on the least sexy stuff humanly possible. Basically, I'm working on the test dashboard. The idea is I've got thousands of malware samples that I've found online and downloaded, and most of them are kind of pseudo organized into file types and malware families and things like that. But basically, in order for me to actually develop this project out, it's gotta actually be testable. I can't just kind of plop it online and just assume that it works, because that's not really good form. So basically, I'm creating a dashboard, which is like a full front end to back end, full stack application or mini application, I guess, that I'm going to use to create, run, and view tests. So the whole idea behind it is basically I'm going to batch everything up into a couple, dozen to maybe a couple hundred tests per batch. And those batches are going to be basically aligned within a MongoDB database. And then every time I run a test, that test run is going to be a line or a row in another MongoDB database that is indexed, or another MongoDB collection, sorry, that is indexed with the actual test batch name. And that's going to allow me to kind of correlate over time. Okay, this test batch, I started off having horrible coverage. I was not able to parse most of the files. And then over time, my coverage got better. Maybe some tests are running super slow. We've got large file sizes that are kind of gumming it down. And once I kind of perfect the algorithm, I can show, okay, this test batch was being run in 3 hours and now it's being run in a couple of minutes. So it's going to allow me to kind of track my progress over time and also show me where the weak points of Malparse is. So it's really, really important, but it's also super not sexy. I've got a whole Kanban board over here full of all of the different features that I would like to develop out, but I kind of sat down and talked to myself a little bit and was like, I really can't in good conscience just keep adding on features to this without knowing if the features that I've already developed actually work. So that's where I spent most of my effort. I kind of created the initial test dashboard and all of the backend API stuff for that. It took a fair bit of time and a bit of debugging, but it's all done now. It's a really ugly white dashboard. I'll kind of flash out a picture of it real quick. It's a super ugly dashboard, but this is only being seen by me, so it's not going out to users or customers or anything like that, so I don't have to worry about it being pretty. So yeah, this week basically I'm going to be parsing out, or not parsing out. I need to stop using that word in cases where it doesn't actually fit. I'm actually going to be dividing up samples into test batches, and I'm going to start running those tests and kind of make sure that I've got all of the metrics that I need in place. I want to make sure that I'm tracking system metrics, so RAM usage, CPU usage, things like that. And I also want to test the actual efficiency metric. So how long is it taking to run through X, number of samples? What is the average run time of my parsing library against a given sample? Things like that, because those are metrics that we're going to want to keep improving over time. Okay, so a little bit less boring, hopefully, and a little bit more sexy is metrics and statistics. So we'll start with financials because they are dead simple right now. Our monthly P&L, or profit and loss, is at negative $37.53 per month. It's actually a little bit less than that. I think it's closer to negative $40 because I didn't, or negative $45 because I didn't include Fathom Analytics in here, which is the analytics engine that I use instead of Google Analytics because they don't do like tracking and all kinds of like sketchy privacy stuff. So Fathom Analytics, I believe, is $8 a month or something like that. So it's closer to $45. Um, so it's simple because I'm not doing any revenue at all right now. I'm actually not getting anything for my Patreon anymore. If you really feel like donating to that, I don't have any like gifts for you. I might set up a coffee at some point, but you can check for the Patreon down in the description. I don't really care about that all that much. I'm not really looking to get revenue because right now all I've got is an ugly email harvesting site. So that negative 37.53 does not include Fathom, but it does include the domain per month, I believe is a couple bucks. And then $35 a month for, I believe, hosting. So it's roughly $34 per month for hosting on DigitalOcean. I've only got 2 servers up. So no revenue, all losses, but it's very like minimal. Eventually that's going to kind of grow, and I've got to figure out exactly what my like early revenue stream is going to look like, whether I'm going to do donations or like a freemium thing with like a limited number of features. I don't really know yet, but eventually I'll kind of get around to figuring out the business stuff. Marketing metrics are way more fun. Last week was a good one for marketing. Like I said, you can go to malparse.com and join the weekly newsletter. After the last video, I believe I doubled the size of my newsletter. It went from 5 people to 10. So really killing it right now in the marketing metrics on that side. If you want weekly updates that are a little bit more verbose and obviously text-based, you can sign up for that newsletter at malparse.com. So we're making a little bit of progress there. 42 page views, I believe is what I'm saying right here, in a week, and 20 followers on Twitter. That is at Malparse on Twitter. So I also got a lot of traction or a lot of traffic from the Indie Hackers newsletter. I was recently featured in that for an article that I posted. I'll leave it a link in the description of that article. But yeah, the YouTube traffic it converted way better. So that's one of the reasons why I'm continuing these devlogs, and it doesn't take me any time to produce these. So that's really about it for this week. There's more cool stuff coming down the pipeline, both for Malparse and for RRE and a bunch of other stuff that I'm working on. But we are making progress on Malparse. Like I said, if you want to get more updates on Malparse, you'll get a link to this video in your inbox along with the newsletter every week. But if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, you're going to get a little bit more information. It's going to be text-based, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about the actual process of producing Malparse. But that's about it for this week. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and peace.